You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I'm Jim, and the other guy here is
Rocco.
There you go. You think. You're never quite sure. And so you can keep it straight. I'm the, funny, charming, witty, handsome one. And, Rocco is, he's the sales guy. So...
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I went there. Hey, I figured I'd start us off right today. Listen, we can switch if you like. You can be me today. You want to be me and I'll be you?
No, I don't want to be you.
I don't blame you. I don't want to be me either. So, but I'm kind of stuck. So that means everybody's going to have to listen to me talk about today's topic, which is Revit and how it is not your only BIM option. So that's a pretty cool setup, right? So the idea today is, like I said, I wanted to talk about BIM and, other options that users have besides Revit, which is, the big name, the big player in the market. And, I want to point out that there are other ways to go. So, now, to be fair, Rocco, right, you and I, we try pretty hard here not to spend this podcast time, talking about specific tools or products that we might work with. But today we're going to get involved in a discussion about a BIM software system that's, relatively new here in the U.S., right? It's been around for quite a while, but it's new here to the USA. And I find it really particularly impressive, and it's called BricsCAD BIM. All right? And now, to be fair to everybody listening, yes, we sell and we teach BricsCAD BIM here at Zentech. But we also do quite a lot of work around Revit. Right? We do that all the time. We teach a lot of Revit classes, do a lot of work with Revit folks. So I feel like we're being fair and open here, and we're not just pushing our sales agenda. All right? So, but what I really want to do here today is I want to let folks know that Revit really isn't the only option that they have in this market, right? Even if Revit does own a massive amount of this market share, and they get almost all of the BIM-related news stories and marketings thanks to their behemoth corporate ownership. But BricsCAD BIM is a really versatile tool that, to my mind, offers some key benefits that make it a much more useful tool than Revit when you're working in the BIM and the 3D modeling world. All right, so Rocco, let's you can start us off here today on an honest foot, right? Do most of our clients even know about BricsCAD BIM or even care about learning what it is, or do people just want to stay in the Revit world?
I don't think many people know about BricsCAD, but unfortunately, a lot of them have kind of a bitter taste of what's been going on with Autodesk and the fees that keep going up and the changing policies and such, and so they're definitely open to hearing and learning about alternatives. At the same time, it's not, I'll be honest, it's not an easy just flick the switch and just move, because they have so much historical content that they've created. So there's a lot of concern and reservation to migrating away from an Autodesk platform, and that's part of the reason why we're talking here today, right?
Right.
To kind
it
of
absolutely is.
Involved.
Yeah, because I think that's a huge key, right? And the fact that you need to maintain your current set of skills that your people have, right? And I actually think that works better in BricsCAD BIM than it does in Revit, and we'll talk about why as we get into this today. So let me start off by explaining you why am I such a big fan of this particular package. I think that BricsCAD BIM does something that Revit and most of the other BIM systems don't. It lets you work in 2D, 3D, and BIM. Right? Putting in your BIM data all in the same file using the same tools. Right? And that kind of ties into what you were just saying for just a minute ago, Rocky. So if you think about this for a second, right, within BricsCAD BIM, you can go from a 2D plan sketch and layout to full 3D architectural models and renderings, and then including all of the BIM data classifications and the LOD, the level of development information that you need, all using the same program within the same file. All right, and that is really a far cry from the Autodesk model. Because here's the thing, to go back to what you were saying, right? People don't want to lose that institutional knowledge that they've developed for years. But the thing is that with the Autodesk model, you're using 3, maybe 4 different programs to achieve those ends, right? And that you have to worry about learning new tools, right? You have to worry about file compatibility, conversion issues every time you move from AutoCAD to Revit and back and to Navisworks, right? And that's assuming that it even lets you without errors. Okay, and the other big reason that I really like BricsCAD BIM is that it is far easier to use for most people than Revit is. Right? Now, to be clear, I'm not saying it's a simpler system in that it has fewer tools or lesser capabilities. I'm saying it has all the tools that you're ever going to need, but they are much easier to use, and they don't require a massive time investment in learning entirely new workflows. Right, which Revit does. It's people, even though they're both coming from Autodesk, people lose their CAD skill set because it doesn't translate to Revit. It's a completely different process. With BricsCAD BIM, I can still use all of my standard CAD drafting tools, even directly onto 3D model faces. Right, for example, I can just use a standard offset command, right, to offset from like the sides of a wall to create an opening. Right, and then have BricsCAD place a window in it for me, and then I can just delete the offset line. It's standard drafting tools and processes that we all know, but they apply in the 3D space, right? So you're not losing that institutional knowledge with this system. So I really like that. So Rocco, why do you think people are resistant then to looking at BricsCAD BIM, right? Is it really the potential cost of learning the new system, or is it the cost of the software itself, or both? Right? And if you might tell, what is the price difference, right, in real dollars between Revit and BricsCAD BIM?
Well, I don't think it's the cost. I think it's because they're not even aware of the product and what it can do. And I think it's the I've been doing it this way for this many years, and now I have to change the way that I work. And how do I make that happen? It's what downtime am I going to have? Everybody runs within this industry runs in such a tight with such tight margins that they can't really afford to lose much downtime. So again, that's why we're having this discussion to help folks understand how easy it could be to migrate from AutoCAD to BricsCAD, or from Revit to BricsCAD. As far as cost goes, BricsCAD is available either as a perpetual or an annual license structure. So you can buy BricsCAD and own it for life with the option of annual maintenance.
Right, which is a definite plus, right? Most people are really, really annoyed with Autodesk and their forced subscription model and the annual upgrade, whether you want to or not.
Yeah, and that's huge. I mean, a lot of people that for that reason alone, they look to BricsCAD. So you're looking at $1,850 for a license of BricsCAD BIM, a perpetual single user license with the option of annual maintenance is $555, or an annual license at $1,260, and you have the option to get network licensing. That's an additional $500 to $600 depending upon which way you go.
And Autodesk has just killed all their network licenses. You're not allowed to have those anymore. So that's a big plus too, right? That's not even an option any longer moving forward with Autodesk.
Right.
Yeah, and Revit is substantially more than that. Just a single seat of Revit, right? I think it's almost like double that price annually, right?
Right.
So literally, BricsCAD pays for itself in a year. So it's a great bargain. But like I say, yeah, it's not always about price, right? So another reason that I am such a huge fan of BricsCAD BIM is they have built-in AI tools, artificial intelligence. And I think that, one of the biggest struggles that people have is categorizing and applying BIM data to their models. I think most, designers can draw 3D models, right? It's easy enough to go in and draw a 3D wall, whether it's in Revit or in BricsCAD. I'll be honest, I think BricsCAD has the edge here in terms of making it simple too. But adding wall materials, cavity spacing, fire rating, finishes, all right, all of that type of stuff. That's where most users really struggle on the BIM side. Now in BricsCAD, you can handle that manually with a simple right click or a drag and drop from a library to assign all the BIM info that you need on that wall, which is great. Right? But even better though, you can just go through your entire building model process, right? Build the whole thing and then run their BIMify AI tool. Right? And that literally goes through your drawing and it identifies items automatically based on their size, orientation, spatial relationships to identify them as walls, slabs, roofs, doors. Right? In fact, a lot of the BricsCAD BIM modeling tools automatically categorize your model components as you're drafting. Right? And like I said, from there, once everything's been categorized, you can just start, to apply the appropriate BIM, LOD information, right, to entire segments of your building at once, right? For example, you can just go in and you can select all the exterior walls and just tag them all as, brick and CMU type, with a 1-inch cavity and 1/2-inch foam insulation. Right? That's the kind of simplicity and automation that I think makes BIM an achievable and an affordable goal for even the smallest design firm. Okay, so all right, so I think, Rocco, with that, I think we can take a break here to hear from today's sponsor. All right, folks, and we will be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody, today's podcast is being brought to you by BricsCAD. BricsCAD, the AutoCAD alternative that will give you all of the tools that you need in the AutoCAD design world, but in a simpler, more affordable package. In particular, today's session is being brought to you by BricsCAD BIM, the 3D modeling system that is the BricsCAD version of Revit. It actually allows you to go in and do all of your 3D modeling, all of your BIM intelligence in your standard DWG file. So you can do your 2D layout and drafting using all the same tools that you have and easily convert those over to full 3D models and then add in and automatically using artificial intelligence convert all of that data into fully developed BIM models to the level of development that you need. BricsCAD BIM, probably the greatest advent into the BIM world in the last decade. So Rocco, tell the kind folks how they can reach out to us and how they can get more information about BricsCAD BIM.
Sure, you can reach out to us at zentechconsultants.net. That's ZENTEK consultants.net. Or you can give us a ring, 866-824-4459. And how about I'll give you an email address too. It's sales@zentechconsultants.net.
All right, lots of ways to reach out to us about BricsCAD BIM. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco. All right, so today we're talking about, primarily about BricsCAD BIM, which is a really powerful alternative to Revit in the BIM and 3D modeling space. And before we get back to BricsCAD BIM, Rocco, let's talk about some of the numbers related to the BIM world. All right, so some data I pulled in from the Small Business News and thebalance.com. So 55% of construction firms consume BIM information provided by design firms. That's a big chunk. 70% of those construction firms say that the BIM data they're working with is not sufficiently standardized, right? That it's just too different and versatile. 48% of design firms who use BIM say that it has a high impact benefit on their bottom line, right? Architects and structural engineers are the leading users of BIM technology at almost double the rate of other design professions. That's big. And 52% of project owners, right, the clients that we all work for, right, who built in 2019, saw a positive value on their jobs from using BIM data. Right? So what I'm trying to stress here is, that this is not a passing phase or a small segment of the design build world. Building information modeling is a vital component of modern design, and it's one that every firm out there needs to be looking at for their future growth. All right. So Rocco, if it's such an important tool and it's such a fast growth industry, right? Why are there still so many companies out there who either don't use BIM at all, or that are only using it when they're forced to it by the client or a governing agency?
I think that it's not an easy transition to BIM. The whole concept is scary to a lot of folks. The idea of switching and migrating to an entirely separate product itself is a big hurdle. There's a cost, like we said, not only a cost for the product itself, but a cost to train and to get proper consulting and so on. And so, I think now's a good time, Jim, to maybe can explain to folks like who are on an AutoCAD platform how similar BricsCAD is to AutoCAD and how that transition works.
Yeah, no, and that's actually a great point, right? Like, it's very important because, like I said earlier, when you're dealing with the BricsCAD BIM suite of tools, or any BricsCAD package, really, it's the same set of tools, right? And they are almost identical in every way to the base AutoCAD drafting system. Literally, people sit in front of it and go, well, everything, all the tools, the format, the ribbon panels, the control bars, the keyboard shortcuts, macros, list file, it's all exactly the same as the standard Autodesk system. So they're just like, wow, this is amazing. It's just like sitting in front of my Autodesk screen. Yeah, it really is. My AutoCAD screen. There's a very, very small learning curve to make the move from basic AutoCAD over. And, that does help now, like I said, because those tools will work in the BIM environment in BricsCAD, whereas AutoCAD tools and structures and processes mean nothing inside of Revit, right? So even within the same company, when you go from AutoCAD to Revit, you're losing all that, institutional knowledge and all the things that people have learned and developed over years. Moving from AutoCAD to BricsCAD, you get to keep it all and apply it all the way through the entire 3D modeling and BIM lifecycle. So I think that's a huge plus.
And I would say that folks should really, and I'll tell you later how to, but you should really download a 30-day trial of BricsCAD and see for yourself, because I hear it all the time without me, prompting people. They tell me, wow, this is AutoCAD. This is really similar to AutoCAD in terms of look and feel. So people just come out and tell me that, you know. So it's a very true point.
Yeah, it's one of those things that a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? It's trying it yourself is a lot more effective than listening to you and I tell them about it. Absolutely. To kind of get back to our BIM discussion, I think a large part of it is exactly what you said, right? It comes back to that potential loss of time and revenue for a lot of these companies. There's a lingering fear in our industry that when you make that move to BIM, right, which most people still mentally link to Revit, right? They're not the same thing. BIM and Revit do not have to go together. That's what we're trying to stress here today. They think there's this massive expense and a bigger learning curve, right? And like I said, if you are going to Revit, you're not wrong, right? And that's why we're talking about BricsCAD BIM today, right? I want everybody to realize, that Revit's not the only game in town, and that there are affordable options out there that not only get you into BIM, but they can do it in the way that actually save you time, money, and effort instead of losing all the stuff you spent years developing. Tell you what, let me give everybody an example of what I mean here, right? So BricsCAD BIM has a tool called QuickDraw, right? And it's just an amazing tool, right? It lets you convert, a standard 2D floor plan layout, right, to a fully categorized 3D BIM model in a matter of minutes, okay? And literally minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm not talking like a half hour here. Right? So not only does it do that, but you can then take the common core items from your plan, right, that you've converted to 3D and BIM, right? Stuff like your walls, your stairs, your elevators, your windows, right, that duplicate across multiple stories. And with this QuickDraw tool, you can copy them up to the next floor with a single mouse click, right? You can literally generate a 20-story building from a single floor plan in a matter of seconds, literally. right? And all of those items are categorized as building objects ready for detailed BIM data, right? And that's the kind of speed and benefit that you get from a software that's been designed with end user ease in mind, rather than, to be mean, right, profitability of the corporation and selling a detailed, a complex software that really requires a ton of training and effort. So like I said, from my mind in BricsCAD BIM, right, there's really no reason for these smaller companies not to go toward BIM structures when things are this simple for them. So Rocco, do you think that the ease of use argument is a solid one, right? That brings more people to the BIM table. If we can show them using 3D and BIM tools is even faster than 2D drafting, right? Do you think that more people would be willing to have that conversation about change?
I think so. I hope so.
It would definitely be good for us if they did, right? And again, that's the point of this conversation, right? It's to kind of start that discussion with them and let people know that it really doesn't have to be this massive, complex, expensive, time-consuming undertaking.
No, it doesn't. But I tell you, one other point that comes up that maybe you can explain to folks, Jim, is so I work with Revit, or I work with a lot of folks that are using Revit. How does the file exchange work? Between Revit and BricsCAD BIM.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, right? So one of the other things that's really, really nice about this is that, the native infrastructure for modeling inside of BricsCAD BIM is the IFC, right? The International Format for Exchanging BIM Data Files. That's their native format. Revit works in an Autodesk proprietary format, and then you have to convert it if you're moving to any other system. So when you convert to that IFC, that's the native format. So BricsCAD will export and read and save to just about any format out there. But Revit files has been optimized to bring those in through the IFC, and it also lets you bring in directly without any kind of a conversion. You can actually go in and you can bring in things like Revit families. If you've built and done some work in Revit and you're like, well, I don't want to lose all of the library of information, you can import your Revit families right into BricsCAD. With no conversion, no set, it reads them natively. So, you're not going to lose any information that way. It's a fantastic point, right? If you are already in Revit, or you've done some dabbling in Revit and you're worried about losing data, you won't. That's all easily importable into the BricsCAD BIM environment.
Yeah, that's huge. That's really really important.
Yeah, it is. It definitely it's a risk people don't want to undertake, and you don't have to with this package. So, I think, right, one of the other things that really grabbed my attention early on with BricsCAD BIM is that the modeling tools within it, right, the 3D modeling tools are so easy that really anybody, even people who have zero CAD experience, can actually do preliminary designs in 3D with almost no training, right? Now, let me explain what I mean by that. So, BricsCAD offers a completely free, it's a free tool. Anybody can download it, called BricsCAD Shape, right? And it's a simple 3D modeler that you can download from their website, no cost, no problems. Anybody can grab it. You don't have to sign up for anything, right? And it's very reminiscent of SketchUp, right? Google SketchUp, but Shape, it's far easier to learn and use, right? And now that's really important because this free modeler is built on the same format and structure as the full BIM, BricsCAD BIM CAD version, meaning that it saves from the Shape program as DWG files. Right? That means that you can take the rough 3D model that your boss laid out in Shape, open it in BricsCAD BIM, clean it up a little bit, add some details, then you can run BIMify, right? It's that automated process that convert things over. Right? You run BIMify and have BricsCAD BIM auto-generate all of your plans, sections, elevations, all right? From there, standard, 2D CAD drafting for some annotations, dimensions, notes, and borders. You apply that, right? And you're done, right? The benefit here is that, you're working in one file, literally, and one system for the entirety of the design, from concept all the way to your final construction documentation, right? And that is a massive time and effort saving, all right? you know, and like we said before, right? You know, and BricsCAD BIM imports all your Revit family and Revit files. So if you're forced to work with a company that is still stuck in Revit, you can always access and share data with them bidirectionally from BricsCAD BIM with no problem at all. Right? It handles all that data file. Okay, so that's like I said, to me, that those are huge savings. So Rocco, right? It's one thing to hear us talk about this, right? But you mentioned it earlier, right? What can listeners do to see BricsCAD BIM in action, right? And even to try it out for themselves.
Yeah, you just hit up our website. It's zentechconsultants.net. That's ZENTEK consultants.net, and you can download a 30-day trial. It's you have access to the full BricsCAD Ultimate product, which contains BricsCAD BIM. You can see a pretty wide variety of videos available there, including a video that shows that conversion that Jim was talking about. You could see some of the webinars that we have coming up, or webinars that we've done on demand, or we could always set up a discussion and a demo for you. We're happy to do that for you. But you know, the other thing to keep in mind is that it's not, you know, you don't necessarily have to say, okay, today I'm just going to dump, you know, everything I've done in AutoCAD and in Revit, and now I'm moving to BricsCAD. You know, you could make that transition easily. You know, buy a seat, an annual seat, or a perpetual license of BricsCAD BIM, and see how it works with your existing workflow. You know, and with time you can make that gradual transition. To fully move to BricsCAD.
Yep.
So do it at your own pace, at your own time.
Yeah, and as I said, that's the huge benefit of the fact that BricsCAD works entirely in standard DWG format files. You can integrate them directly with an AutoCAD system, so you can have, you know, half AutoCAD licenses and half BricsCAD licenses, and people can just open and edit and modify each other's files with no problem. So yeah, definitely a big plus. All right, so there you go, folks. BricsCAD BIM, right, is a tool that I think everybody in the design and build world really needs to look closely at. You know, it doesn't matter if you're an architect, an engineer, or a construction manager. You know, this tool is simple enough for everybody to use, and it can be a massive money maker for your company. So I strongly recommend that you investigate it today. All right. So with that, unless Rocco, anything else you want to throw in there?
No, I'm good to go.
All right, me too. So we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net. Or you could even call us, 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.